Recently, the Canadian government announced a sudden ban on the import of all corn and oil from the United States. The decision immediately sent shockwaves through the American economy. At least 10 states, stretching from the Midwest to the Gulf Coast, have declared an economic state of emergency to cope with potential supply chain disruptions and losses amounting to billions of dollars in the coming weeks. Experts warn this move could be the opening shot of a new trade confrontation, following months of tit-for-tat measures between Washington and Ottawa. The ban directly affects millions of tons of American corn exported to Canada each year, while oil producers risk losing one of their largest consumer markets in the region. According to Canada's Ministry of Agriculture and Trade, the decision stems from a combination of economic, political, and environmental factors. Canadian officials argue that cheap U.S. corn and oil have put intense pressure on domestic prices, forcing local farms toward bankruptcy. The move is also seen as retaliation for new tariffs Washington imposed on Canadian steel, lumber, and consumer goods. Another factor is regulation. Some shipments of corn and oil failed to meet Canada's updated chemical and pesticide residue standards, particularly concerning genetically modified products. Ottawa also wants to accelerate its food security strategy, reducing reliance on foreign supplies in the face of climate change and global instability. Now, let's look at the 10 U.S. states most affected by the ban. Iowa, the nation's leading corn producer, with more than 13 million acres under cultivation and over 2.5 billion bushels harvested annually. Canada has been one of its top markets. With the ban, stockpiles in counties like Polk, Story, and Lynn are nearing full capacity. Corn prices in Iowa have dropped more than 15% compared to last year, putting farmers and ethanol plants under severe strain. Illinois, the second largest corn producer and a hub for soybean oil processing. Canada has been a vital export market. Ports and warehouses along the Mississippi River have slowed to a standstill, while processing businesses in Decatur, Bloomington, and Peoria report an 80% drop in orders. Spot prices on the Chicago Board of Trade have fallen for 6 straight sessions. Nebraska, with over 9 million acres of corn, the state has seen stockpiles double compared to last year. Prices in Omaha and Lincoln have fallen below break-even, while ethanol plants in York and Columbus are cutting hours and laying off workers. Minnesota, known for corn and soybean oil, more than half of its soybean oil output was sold to Canada. Processing plants in Minneapolis-St. Paul have cut operations to 60 to 70% capacity. Farmers face falling crop prices, rising costs, and mounting inventories. Indiana, much of its corn exports go directly to Canada, thanks to cross-border rail and road routes. Since the ban, more than 40% of export contracts have been cancelled. Corn and ethanol producers are cutting operations, while storage costs for unsold grain continue to rise. Ohio, a key supplier of corn oil, soybean oil, and animal feed, shipping through ports along Lake Erie. Nearly half of its vegetable oil output once went to Canada. Since the ban, prices have plunged and inventories piled up, forcing plants to scale back or shut down. North Dakota, the leading U.S. canola producer, with most of its canola oil previously sold to Canada. The ban froze trade almost overnight, and oil pressing plants in Bismarck, Minot, and Grand Forks have cut production. Farmers face low prices and high storage costs. South Dakota, a top corn producer, once supplying large volumes to central and western Canada. With the ban, inventories surged and many farmers are selling at prices below production costs. Missouri, known for corn and soybeans, its processing plants and transport systems were closely tied to Canadian demand. Now, unsold stockpiles have pushed prices down and many businesses are cutting staff or halting operations. Kansas, a major producer of corn, wheat, and soybeans. Before the ban, Canadian markets provided stable revenue. Now, prices have plummeted and many small to medium-sized processors are suspending operations. Canada's import ban is more than a bilateral trade dispute. It is a direct shock to the U.S. agricultural supply chain, pushing prices to record lows and straining industries from farming to transportation. Thousands of farmers and processing plants are now facing mounting losses, and experts warn that unless the issue is resolved soon, the crisis could become the most severe U.S. agriculture has faced in decades.